Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're going to have this webinar and discuss enabling Lightning Experience and if it is a right fit for your organization and how to decide that. I'm joined here with Ernest Lessinger and Pam Bryant, and we will be going through this slide or these slides over the next hour. And if you have any questions throughout the time of the webinar, please put them in the chat box on the right-hand side of your screen in the control panel, and we will answer all those questions at the end of the webinar. Let me tell you a little bit about EnablePath. We're a Salesforce Platinum partner with over 360 Salesforce certifications internally. We're really proud of that. We have over 2,000 successful engagements. Our customer base is large and growing. One thing we're really proud of is our customer satisfaction rating. We stand at a 9.3 out of 10. Let me tell you a little bit more about our ongoing support program before we dive into the rest of the webinar. Pam Bryant, who will be hosting parts of the webinar today, she is in charge of our ongoing support package. And if you have any questions around business process reviews, configuration, training, best practices, any type of data migration, or anything else that you would like to ask around the Salesforce Lightning Experience, Pam would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. And you can reach her at 770-995-6691 or at her email address, pbryan@enablepath.com. And Ernest?
Excellent. Thank you, Calder. Real quick, before we get started, I want to talk about today's goal. Today we will be talking about Salesforce Cloud. We have a webinar coming up in another couple of weeks about Salesforce Lightning Experience Service Cloud. The experience is roughly the same, but there's just a little bit more content than we wanted to try to get through in 1 hour. And of course, if you're interested in sales, this is the webinar for you. If you're interested in service, the webinar in a couple of weeks will also be available, and we would love to have you attend both. So talking about the Lightning Experience, what is it? Lightning Experience is a dramatic improvement in the sales process. Salesforce's current release, that's the Winter 16 release, is really focused on Sales Cloud. There are a lot of customer service improvements, particularly around case, but really the bulk of the experience is around Sales Cloud. There are some implications for development that I'll touch on a little bit later. Last month's webinar talked in much more depth about what some of the development changes are, but I'll try to cover them in a little bit of detail today and in a couple of weeks. And it's important to know that Salesforce Lightning Experience does not currently support all objects and functions. It does not support all editions of Salesforce. It's really intended to be it's not a pre-release, it's fully functional, but it is intended to be a release for a subset of the Salesforce ecosystem. And what I mean by that is Salesforce will be rolling out Lightning Experience for their entire customer base, but they really wanted to get it in front of you as soon as possible. So if Salesforce Lightning Experience is the right choice for you at this time, that's great. If it's not, that's also fine. Salesforce will be making continuous enhancements and improvements as they do to all of their functionality. So before I get started, a couple things, a little bit of safe harbor. EnablePath is not Salesforce. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Burlesoft Corporation, but we are using a number of screenshots and images that were produced by Salesforce. We're using those to help train you in their technology. And we're using a number of Salesforce brands and terms and so forth that we do not own. Salesforce One, Salesforce Lightning, Lightning Connect, Lightning UI, Lightning Experience are all brands and trademarks of Salesforce. Any statements that we make about what we hope might be happening in the future or what we expect might be happening in the future are exactly that. They're hopes and expectations and certainly do not reflect necessarily Salesforce's actual plans, and which may also change per Salesforce's own safe harbor statement. So just a quick touch on Salesforce branding. Salesforce One was used a lot last year at the previous Dreamforce, so that would be Dreamforce 14. But what we're finding is, or what we found is that Salesforce One now refers only to the Salesforce One mobile app. Salesforce One Lightning is now referred to as Salesforce Lightning. Salesforce Lightning is their UI platform that powers the new Lightning experience and allows anyone to build beautiful apps using Lightning components for any device. Lightning Connect is the general brand for technology that allows seamless integration between Salesforce and other platforms, specifically other databases, including SQL Server, Oracle. I believe they've also started to include SharePoint, Google Drive, and Box in the technologies that Lightning Connect can connect to. Lightning Experience is the new Salesforce user interface. Lightning UI, we've already mentioned, and Lightning Design is the open source set of guidelines, tools, frameworks, etc., for creating UIs that look and feel like Salesforce. And then Salesforce One Reports, as they called it last year, is now called Salesforce Reports and Dashboards. So a lot of this rebranding is in the Salesforce Winter 16 release notes, at the beginning of the release notes. If you're interested, you can certainly look at that there. So the next step in this webinar is we're going to show you how to enable Lightning Experience, and for that I'm going to pass you over to Pam Bryan. For those of you who are interested, we do have slide versions of a lot of what you'll see. It's not quite as good as the recording, so we'll have both the slide versions and the recording posted online a little bit later. Pam, over to you.
Thank you, Ernest. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, thank you. Well, good morning. What I've got, as Ernest mentioned, I have a enterprise, well, actually, I believe, yes, an enterprise developer sandbox. So this is one that we just actually activated this morning. So this is, what we would definitely recommend for you to try out Lightning is use your sandbox. But what I wanted to do is kind of just walk through changing and setting up the Lightning experience. So I'm going to click on Ernest's name up at the top, since he's the user logged in, and I'll click Setup. And from Setup, over here on the left-hand column, you'll see Lightning Experience with a little red New. And then I'm going to scroll down. There's a lot of really great links and information on here that you can click on to learn more. But just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and enable Account Insights. I'm also going to enable Social Accounts, Contacts, and Leads. And then I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to enable the Lightning Experience. And you'll notice what pops up is letting us know that just because you continue to Lightning Experience does not mean that all your users are going to automatically have Lightning and be able to see it, and also lets you know of some limitations. So I'm going to go ahead and say Continue to Lightning Experience. What happens now is I don't automatically change to Lightning Experience. So what I do is I go back up to the top again, and you'll notice there's now another option that says Switch to Lightning Experience when I clicked on Ernest's name. So I'll go ahead and click on Ernest's name, and it's going to ask me if you was letting me know you're about to switch to the Salesforce Lightning Experience. And if I don't want to see this again, I can go ahead and just click this box and say I don't need to see this message again and hit Switch. And it'll take just a couple seconds. And now I'm actually going to be in the new Lightning interface. And we'll go through this in a little bit more detail in a minute, but just to show you how easy it is to switch back, if I click over in the top right-hand corner on the smiley face, it's going to allow me here to switch back to Salesforce Classic. So if I click Switch to Salesforce Classic, once again, it'll give me a message, and I can click I don't need to see this message again, and I can say Switch, and it's going to switch me back over to Salesforce Classic. So I just wanted to run through just how easy it was to do those few steps to get it set up in your sandbox or production for you to be able to use it. So Ernest, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. And for everyone, I would strongly recommend, I do strongly recommend, that you seriously consider activating Lightning Experience in one of your sandboxes. It's that easy, and you can start to get a little bit of experience on what you can do with Lightning Experience and the kinds of experience that your users will have. I do not recommend that you do that without any configuration, and Pam will go through a few of the steps that are required to make Lightning Experience really valuable for you. It's certainly usable without doing these, but why waste that opportunity to learn about what the technology can do? So we'll show you some of those immediate steps that you can take to really add the value that you want to get out of a Lightning Experience trial. And Pam will be doing that a little bit later. First, I want to talk through some of the features that are available or not available in Lightning Experience. And to be very upfront about it, when customers come to us and ask, can we or should we enable Lightning Experience, or when they tell us that they want to enable Lightning Experience, our answer is a very firm maybe. We always advise our customers to enable Lightning Experience in a sandbox first, to go through these checklists, and the checklists that I'm showing you are not a complete list of all of the features that are and are not in Lightning Experience. That complete list is available in the Winter 16 release notes. But we always advise our customers to go through each feature line by line and validate whether Lightning Experience will work for them, and more importantly, whether Lightning Experience will help them. Salesforce has some statements in the Winter 16 release notes about what types of customers are ideal for each version of Lightning Experience, or rather to enable Lightning Experience. And to paraphrase that, in our experience, customers who use Salesforce for sales, that's lead management and opportunity management, and then sales task management are a good candidate for Lightning Experience. Customers who use Salesforce for back office operations, including heavy back office workflows, who have heavy customizations using Visualforce pages, using S controls, using Canvas, and things like that, are probably not a good candidate for Lightning Experience. That said, if you are a customer who uses heavy development and heavy configuration and who wants to improve your customer service, you should absolutely start looking at Lightning Experience in your sandbox now, so that when those features come fully online, you'll be able to activate them in 1 or 2 releases. So just briefly touching on this slide, the licenses that are supported by Lightning Experience include Salesforce, everything from, I believe, Professional Edition up. So that's Professional, Enterprise, Unlimited, and Ultimate Edition. Are supported by Lightning Experience. Unsupported licenses include Force.com free, all of the customer portal licenses, content only, knowledge only, site.com only, a lot of the limited licenses that never really used the core Salesforce interface. Customer communities, which are not the same as customer portals, do support the Lightning Experience. Again, as you enable Lightning Experience, we always recommend that you have a change management process, including a partner or customer communication process in place, just so that your customers will be aware of the improvements that they're expecting to see. So going through some of the basic Lightning features that you'll see, Lightning Experience supports accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, price books, and products, as well as some other service and support objects that we're not going to touch on this week. Calendars, events, and tasks, cases with basic support, all custom objects, chatter feeds, groups, and people, Salesforce files, including some improvements on Salesforce files that you get only in Lightning Experience. There are a number of sales and service objects that are not available. That includes campaigns, orders, contracts, quotes, forecasting, and territory management. If an object is not available in Lightning Experience, you simply will not see it, either as a related list or as a field in Lightning Experience. So Lightning Experience will still work, but your users might be missing some elements that they're used to seeing in Salesforce Classic. So the home screen adds performance charts, assistant, account insights, top deals, and then of course continues to support tasks. We'll show you all of that later. The home screen in Lightning Experience does not support calendar and events, does not support a chatter feed and publisher right on the home screen, does not include items to improve, customizable dashboards, or customizable homepage components. So if you use those heavily, you might want to wait for the next release. I believe it actually says in the Salesforce release notes that Salesforce is working hard on adding a lot of these capabilities into the home screen. So I expect to see those in the next release or two. On the accounts and contact screens, account insights, activity timeline, enhanced notes, and so forth are new. Integrated email and templates are available in accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunities, but I'll talk a little bit more about those later. Account teams and territories, account and contact hierarchies, and person accounts, as well as account and contact merge, are not supported in Lightning Experience. If you use person accounts, unfortunately, you cannot use Lightning Experience yet. I'm sure that will be supported in the relatively near future. Account and contact hierarchy, similarly, is not currently supported. So if you make a lot of use out of that, then you're going to want to wait a little bit until that's activated in Lightning Experience. For leads, you get a new workspace page layout, a new activity timeline, similar to the one on the opportunity. You get sales paths, again, similar to the opportunity. Enhanced notes and files, again, integrated email and templates. You lose the ability to find and merge duplicate leads, and you lose the ability to change the lead owner to a queue. On the opportunity page, similar functionality. You lose opportunity teams, and you lose the ability to search for similar opportunities. So in reporting and analytics, Lightning Experience gets you much enhanced reports and dashboards, and Pam will be demonstrating that a little bit later. You also get the ability to hide totals and subgroups. You get the ability to create interactive filters when viewing reports, which is a great new feature. You still have the report builder. You still have bucket fields. You still have formula summaries. You cannot create joined reports in Lightning Experience. You cannot see the details of matrix reports. Tables, funnels, and scatter chart types are just not supported yet. I'm sure those will be coming. And you cannot schedule report refreshes. So some of these features are just features that require some heavy lifting on Salesforce's side, and they didn't want to wait to get those all completed before releasing this great new technology to the world. Some of those features are a result of how Salesforce is now going to be viewable using the same user interface and the same configuration on mobile phones, tablets, small laptops, large laptops, etc. And so some of these features, especially things like seeing the details of matrix reports, I expect Salesforce will come out with a new capability that provides those same benefits, but there will likely be some significant changes because they do need to be able to support that functionality on mobile phones, for example. So I look forward to seeing how they address those. And then some general improvements and issues with moving to Lightning Experience. Email templates, as well as dashboards and some report types, cannot be shared between Salesforce Classic and Lightning Experience, which means that if you create email templates in Lightning Experience, you cannot then use them in Salesforce Classic and vice versa. There's a whole page of changes and limitations in how email templates are handled in the new UI. If you use email templates extensively, I recommend you go into the Winter 16 release notes and look at those. Formula fields with hyperlinks are also not supported in Lightning Experience. That has to do with the way that Lightning Experience interacts with the web browser. In Salesforce Classic, many admins and all developers know that you could always get directly to a record or directly to an object homepage through a specially crafted URL. That's no longer possible in Lightning Experience because Salesforce no longer reloads the entire user interface, what I was always taught to call the Chrome of the Salesforce user interface, every time you click on a link, which means that you have much better responsiveness, a lot less data being transferred over the network, and so the whole experience should run a little bit faster, but it means that you now have to use a JavaScript method to open a new record or change your page within that Salesforce browser experience, and you can't just give them a new URL. And as a result, things like list view buttons that call a JavaScript method or that go to a URL behave a little bit differently, and Visualforce pages that do web redirects directly to other Visualforce pages or web redirects directly to records or to edit pages, etc., no longer function the same way. So you might have to do a little bit of code changing there, and for the most part, that's a little bit of JavaScript. The ability to create a record /00A/E, I left the /E out of there, and then pre-populate field values, unfortunately also no longer works. It does work, it just takes you out of the Lightning Experience user interface. And I, for one, hope that Salesforce will add back support for this feature, which, in all honesty, was never officially supported by Salesforce, and they were very vocal about the fact that they did not officially support it. Nevertheless, I know a number of our customers have used this particular workaround. Event invitations are not supported in Lightning Experience yet. Formula fields with images and list views. So I know there are a number of Salesforce demos and a number of our customers who create list views with things like red, yellow, green indicators for whether a particular record has been is meeting its accuracy requirements, or to show the workflow status of a record, or even to show indicators like the type of customer. Unfortunately, those images are not available in list views yet. Field level help is not fully supported in Lightning Experience. I hope that all of our customers are using field level help extensively because it is important for adoption, and those of you who are might need to consider whether you're using it in ways that would preclude you using the new experience. Inline list view editing, which is a big deal, especially for organizations that do back office workflow using Salesforce. Printing a page or a list view. Again, this is related to the fact that the Salesforce Chrome is now really a container for everything that is displayed within Salesforce, rather than just being a header and a footer. And so as a result, printing is going to change a little bit in Salesforce. Accessibility mode is technically no longer in Lightning Experience, but that's because Lightning Experience is accessible by default. They've done a lot of testing, and you can see some more notes about that in Winter 16. And then, as I said, custom JavaScript buttons. I'm sure they will be adding a way to add custom JavaScript buttons. My guess is that they removed this functionality because they were probably adding significant functionality around these types of buttons because, as I said, redirecting to other web pages, redirecting to Visualforce pages, redirecting or activating Lightning components is now all done by JavaScript. So I hope that they're going to be adding some of that capability into the system. Okay, so with that, I will end the boring lecture section. And Pam, I'm going to pass the control over to you to finish up the demo.
Okay, and let me show my screen. Okay, can you see my screen, Ernest?
Yes, I can, thank you.
So what we're going to do is we had switched back to the classic mode when we were last talking. So I'm going to click Ernest's name, switch to the Lightning Experience. Once again, this is just our dev sandbox. We haven't made any changes. We just turned it on today. So we go to the home page. This is the new default home page, and I'll walk through a couple components here with you. What we found is there's a lot of standard components that have already been built by Salesforce, and we've found some of our clients have had some custom components that they may have created, or maybe through another app. Sometimes you may need to possibly look at having those components recreated using the Lightning tools, or you just may need to consider what are those components and if they'll currently be viewed in the new Lightning interface. The first component here, the quarterly performance, what I wanted to show you, which is really neat about this one, is this is going to show you your current opportunities, and you can click on, or I'm just hovering my line or my mouse on any of the lines to kind of see what the number is. You can add a goal to this. If I were to click here and put in a goal, say of 850,000, it'll now show me another line above here, so I can kind of see how I'm going towards my goal. So as a sales user, this would show their opportunities. As a sales manager, this would show their team total opportunities. Down here below is something called the Account Insights, and Account Insights basically shows you 20 relevant, timely news articles. So it's actually using recent accounts that you've been on. It's using industries that you use. It's pulling executive names and account names, and it's actually going to show you information from the internet, and it's done some cleaning as well, but it's going to show you some basically like a news feed that may be relevant to your sales users or your sales managers. Over on the right, the assistant. This is going to kind of allow you to view all of your important tasks and updates. It's got a sort order. We'll add a task here in a minute, and we'll come back to the home page so I can kind of show you. But basically, the sort order is going to show you overdue task first. Then it'll show you tasks that are due today. Then it will show you leads that are assigned to you. We can see a couple of these on here. Then it's going to show you opportunities with overdue tasks. And then it'll show you opportunities with no activity for 30 days. That's these down here. And the last one will be opportunities that have no activity. So it's just kind of a neat way to show some of your most important items that you need to be working on as from a sales perspective. We still have our recent items that are on here that show us the last items that we've most recently been on, and it also is going to show our top deals. So this is just kind of standard out-of-the-box homepage that can definitely be customized, but this is just kind of a good example of what you would be when you first logged in. Next, I'm going to click on the crown, the opportunity icon on the left, to take me to my new opportunity homepage. It's going to default to the recently viewed list, which is similar to what we are used to in Classic. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drop the drop down, and I'm going to change it to My Opportunities. I only want to see the opportunities assigned to me. And then over here on the right, I'm going to click this button, and instead of displaying as a grid, I'm going to display as a board. So this is the new sales board, which is really neat. It allows a lot of flexibility. There's things that can be done here quite quickly. You'll notice that at the top of each of them, it gives us the sum of the opportunities at each of these stages. It also gives us the count. If I wanted to move, say, this Acme 600 widgets opportunity to the value proposition stage, all I have to do is click and drag and drop. And you'll notice it updates to 230,000. It also changes the count to 3. Just some notes on this page, things that we found out is that validation rules do apply. So if you do have some validation rules that, say, for example, won't allow a stage to become closed won without a certain field being populated, that will apply here. So you wouldn't be able to click and drop because of a validation rule. But something, for example, like a closed loss reason or a dependent field, those do not apply here. So it's something you definitely want to take into consideration when opening this up for your sales team, because if those are fields that are needed or required, we may need to look at another way of handling those. Another great feature is if you see there's another button on the right-hand corner that shows a graph. So I can click this graph, and now I can display a graph. And there's a couple options in the drop-down. We can change it to pipeline by fiscal period, pipeline by account, by stage, and I'm able just to quickly change the graph to one of the other options. So I'll go back to stage and show it here. Now you'll also notice these triangles on each of the records that show no open activities or wanting to suggest that you take an activity. At this time, when we first turn it on, we notice that we're not able to click on this to create a task. So let's go to the opportunity record. Let's just click on Acme 1200 widgets, and let's view an opportunity in the new Lightning interface. You see it gives me a nice bar across the top to show me how I'm moving through. I can just quickly mark the stage as complete here to move through. I've got my contact roles, products, notes, and attachments. But over here under activity, I'd like to be able to add a new task, and the only thing that's showing right now is email. So what I need to do is I need to be able to add the actions to the page layout. So I'm just going to quickly walk you through this. I'm going to go up here at the right, and I'm going to click the gear, and I'm going to say Set Up Home. And over here on the left, I'm going to go to my Objects and Fields, and I'm going to select Object Manager underneath Object Fields. And this is going to pull up my Object Manager. I'll need to click on Opportunity to say that that's the object I want to be making a change to. And then once I'm on the Object Manager for Opportunity, I can now scroll down to the page layout for Opportunity. And it's over here on the right instead of the left, so I'll click Edit. And this is going to bring up pretty much what we're used to in the classic view. But what I want to adjust is the Salesforce 1 and Lightning Experience actions. And so I'm going to click the button here to override the predefined action. So now I can go up here into my quick actions, and I can bring my log a call down. I'm just going to put it right here. I think I'm going to do Salesforce 1 quick action and Salesforce 1 action. Log a call. And I'll also bring down under new event. So I'll bring new event down and for both of them. So I'm going to do it for Salesforce 1 actions and quick actions, and I'm going to hit save. And then let's go back now. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No problem. And while you're on the opportunity setup page, somebody asked a question, a good question. The opportunity board that you showed, I believe, does enforce validation rules, but it does not enforce the closed lost reason, and it does not enforce dependent pick lists and dependent fields. So if you move an opportunity board, you might, an opportunity on the opportunity board, a validation rule might prevent that from changing, and you will not be able to resolve that from the opportunity board. You have to click into the opportunity to fix it. Similarly, closed lost reason and dependent pick list fields and so forth, the master field will change, but in order to correct or complete that process, you would have to actually go into the opportunity and edit it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ernest. So what I did was I went back to my opportunity board just by clicking the opportunity icon, and now when I go to the opportunity, I can now log a call or set up an event. So if I wanted to come in and update an event, so luncheon, we'll just add a luncheon for today, and we'll do it today at, that looks good, 12. And we'll just save. So now I can quickly log a call or add an event, send an email, any other quick actions that we wanted to also enable here would also show up across here that we were able to do. This is under the activity selection under collaborate. This is where we would see a lot of our chatter. We could share a file, anything that we're currently tracking in chatter. And under details, this gives us a kind of a quick view of all of the information. Now if I wanted to actually edit something as far as say the description or something to that effect, I can still go up here on the top right and select the edit button, which will allow me to bring this up and change this to new business, or change the lead source to advertisement, or make an update to the description. Then I can hit save. And I'll wait for that to save. And then let's just go back to the opportunity board. Let's go back to my opportunities view. And you'll know that it kept it in this board view once I had selected it there. And now I could come here to the Acme 600 widgets, and I could actually click and add a new event here, however I needed to. I can also go to the actual tasks page and add events or tasks that way, or view them from there as well. So if I click on my task page, and then I can say completed today, any task that I added an event, so that's why it's there. One other thing I wanted to be able to also show that I think is important is the new dashboard feature. So if I were to go to the dashboards icon, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the company performance dashboard. That's just one that's already in the sandbox when you turn this on. And you'll notice that this dashboard, excuse me, is the dashboard that is currently used as default. So it has things on here that are related to sales, related to marketing, related to support. Let's go ahead and refresh the dashboard. Some of the items on here are not really relevant for us in sales. So let's say I wanted to make this dashboard part of the new Lightning interface dashboard. So I would go ahead and edit it. What it's going to say when I hit to edit, it's going to say if I edit this in the Lightning experience, no one's going to be able to edit it in Salesforce Classic. So that's something that should be taken into consideration, is that not all, as Ernest mentioned before, not all reports and components are supported in Lightning. So it's possible you may want to clone a dashboard if you want your Lightning users to use it, to allow your Classic users to be able to also edit or make changes to that dashboard. So we're in the sandbox. I'm just going to go ahead and change it to a Lightning component dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and remove a couple of these ones that are not relevant and that are not supported. So I'll just take off these two up here at the top. So I'm going to just delete that. Now, if you notice, I'll delete this one as well so you can see. We have these grids on here now that were never on there before. So if I were to decide to resize this one, say, to 2, and then let's say I want to slide this one over to 2, I can now move other dashboards around. And this will allow me now to have more than one column. I'm sorry, more than 3 columns. So I now can have four columns. I can shrink my dashboards as needed, so it allows a little bit more flexibility. We're not going to go into all of the new components, but there are a couple new components now that you can use in the Lightning interface as well that show some more features that can be done. But I thought this was really a great advantage to be able to now have 4 components and be able to size your components as needed. So Ernest, I think that's all I have, so I'm ready to turn it back over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. Let me take control here. Okay, great. So you should all see my presentation now. I'm just going to skip past all of the screenshots of what Pam just showed. Those are going to be available in the slide deck. There are a few more screenshots that she was not able to show, including social media integration here, which is a great new feature that allows you to link Salesforce with your own social media accounts so that you can really understand the kinds of connections that you have with your customers or potential customers, which is a great networking opportunity that I know a number of our own customers are taking advantage of. And it's definitely part of a number of very popular and successful sales methodologies as well. So before we move on to question and answer, I wanted to talk briefly about EnablePath Lens, which is part of EnablePath's health and audit services. It's ideal for existing customers that are considering an org split or a merge. We provide you with a review of your Salesforce org, including a static analysis of all of your fields and all of your objects, and a lot of the relationships between your Visualforce code and your objects, your Visualforce code and your fields, between Lightning components, between Visualforce pages and Visualforce components, and so forth, as well as an analysis of the data in your Salesforce org. So it's a great tool to really get a backup of all your Salesforce metadata, including metadata that is not available in the Eclipse editor. Get documentation of your data model in Excel, in a PDF with a nice entity relationship diagram. You get some Excel configuration workbooks, and you get your documentation produced as HTML, PDF, or Excel. You can contact either your EnablePath account executive, or you can contact Pam Bryan on the next page, which we will pass over now. Pam, I'll keep showing my screen, but if you'd like to talk about the ongoing support offerings.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ernest. So in our support our support area, what we do is we have a couple offerings, and as Ernest mentioned before, several of our clients also have Salesforce Premier Support or Premier Plus Admin. So we're fantastic at helping augment against Salesforce support options that you may already have. If you have a short-term need, say for staff augmentation or for maybe some extra data migration work or development work, we're able to help you in support as well. Anything that is something that could be done in a day or two, or if you have a fixed budget where you have certain items that you want to accomplish over time but are just not able because of either financial obligations or even personnel commitments, we have a program called Concierge, which allows you to spread out that type of effort over time. And we can provide a dedicated resource who knows your environment. That resource also is able to provide proactive in addition to that reactive support. So for things like the Lightning interface, when new releases come out, once you're meeting with your concierge contact, and you let them know that Lightning is something you are interested in, but because of certain types of features that are not available yet, those are things that we can keep a lookout for. And when we know of these features becoming available, or if we know of other best practices from some of our current clients, we can offer that information to you proactively, as well as in addition to anything that comes up reactive, something on your to-do list or items that you need some assistance with. But the other option is kind of time and materials. So similarly, you can have access to one of our support resources, the one that would be most available at the time of your need, and we'll be more than happy to assist with you with little things that may come up that you need help with that just don't have an ongoing project. I think that's it, Ernest.
Great, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to my, my primary screen here, and I'm going to show you some of the Winter 16 release notes that I'm using to answer the questions that you've been asking. So the first question I have is, in regards to what you mentioned around JavaScript, that in the Lightning experience that only certain parts of the page reload, is there anything that I as a user need to do for that? As a user, you don't really have to do anything to enable Lightning experience. That happens automatically. As an administrator, you need to be aware that if you have extensive Visualforce development, particularly if you have Visualforce user interfaces that redirect users to a standard Salesforce page, and that might be a lead conversion wizard, that might be a product pricing and ordering wizard, something like that, that ends with the user being redirected back to a standard Salesforce user interface, you might have to make some changes because Lightning Experience expects that Visualforce pages will act within the Salesforce UI, where previously it was very easy, in fact almost automatic, that you would break out of Salesforce in order to step through a Visualforce page and have a Visualforce UI. Now, all Visualforce pages load within an iframe, and if you redirect to a standard custom or custom object at the end of a Visualforce process, what will happen is you'll get a Salesforce Classic user interface loaded within that iframe, which is probably not the experience that you're going for. There is some documentation, and you can start by looking at the Salesforce release notes section on what's the fate of existing Salesforce customizations. And you can look at all of the existing Salesforce customizations, including Visualforce. And there are some links here to a page for Visualforce and Lightning Experience, the developer trail on Lightning Experience, and some other Salesforce trailhead modules that will help you understand what changes you need to make to your existing Visualforce pages. So again, if you do a lot of heavy Visualforce customization, you might want to consider asking your developers to log into a sandbox and look at this and maybe start making some of those changes proactively. The second question, if we enable the Lightning experience on my desktop, will that affect my Salesforce One app on my smartphone? The short answer is no. It will. There we go. The short answer is no. The whole purpose, or one of the purposes around Lightning Experience, is that the experience and the administration between Salesforce One on your mobile phone and Salesforce on your desktop are going to start to converge. So a lot of the components that you write, the Lightning components that you write, should operate on your mobile phone or on your desktop equally well. A lot of the dashboards that you create, the reports that you create, most of the Salesforce user interface should work equally well on a phone or on a desktop, or will have alternate versions. Now, that's not to say that changes that you make in Lightning Experience won't affect the mobile device. There are still some differences. Mobile page layouts are still separate from desktop page layouts. I personally think that's likely to continue for a while. It's just difficult to make a user interface that is as powerful as you would like it to be on a desktop and yet as simple as you need it to be on a mobile device. But you'll start seeing that a lot of the functionality, particularly around page layouts, small screen page layouts, and so forth, will start to affect both the desktop and the mobile device. And there is certainly some functionality, and I don't have it on the tip of my tongue, that when you start configuring it in Lightning Experience will begin to modify the Salesforce mobile experience as well. The good news is that it is intended to be seamless and consistent across the devices. So the third question, can any of the account insights or any other new features on Lightning Experience homepage be hidden? There is, again, in the release notes under productivity features, Lightning Experience limitations. The Salesforce homepage is reimagined. Unfortunately, customization that is not supported, includes adding any standard or custom components and removing components already on the page. So Salesforce does say it's a top priority to make the homepage customizable, and we're working on this functionality in a future release. Salesforce has also released a pilot, which means that it is not generally available, that allows you to modify the object homepage. So when you went to the opportunity, you got to pick from your list view and choose which list view you wanted to see. You were able to, on the opportunities, change that to an opportunity board. Salesforce has pilot functionality that will allow you to add other components to that object homepage. So you might, in the future, be able to add a multiple list views or a list view in a dashboard, which I know is one of the major reasons why a lot of our customers used to override standard object pages with Visualforce pages so that they could just have a richer experience. Well, that will be possible. It is not possible in Winter 16. Outside of playing around in the sandbox, how can I easily determine whether or not the Lightning UI is good for our company? So a number of answers there. The first answer is you absolutely should play around in your sandbox, and better than playing around, what you should do is identify the key features that your users are interested in Salesforce. And by that I mean you need to understand specifically targeting sales and service, but also talking about custom objects, Visualforce pages in particular, and triggers, and then chatter feeds. Think about how your users use Salesforce, and then read through this entire Lightning Experience section, and specifically the Is Lightning Experience Right for Your Salesforce org section, and look at it line by line and determine what will be changing for your users. So that's the first answer. The second answer, of course, is read the release notes. The third answer is Pam Bryan and EnablePath are ready and able to help you both on the consulting side and on the actual implementation side. So whether you need to have a Visualforce page modified to support Lightning Experience, or you just want to try out Lightning Experience and would like us to configure something for you to give you a little bit more of a realistic trial, or somewhere in between, we're absolutely able to help you out. And again, Pam Bryan is available at pbryan@enablepath.com, and I'll put that page up a little bit later. Are there any prerequisites or other things I have to do prior to enabling the Lightning Experience? There are limitations on the supported browsers. You must be in a reasonably modern browser. So specifically, Internet Explorer 11 with some limitations, Microsoft Firefox, and Google Chrome. There are no specific recommendations for Apple Safari, and that is supported as well. Other than that, really the prerequisites are look at the features and functionality that you are using right now and make sure that they are supported in Lightning Experience. And then finally, are custom sales processes supported in Lightning Experience? Pam, you might want to pitch in on that, but I believe the answer is absolutely. That is, in fact, what Pam was demonstrating in the opportunity board. And in fact, you can take that a little bit further and you can add sales guidance to each of those lead and opportunity stages, so that your salespeople will see, in addition to just the name of the stage, closed won, or prospecting or qualifying, you can actually add some text there to maybe either give some guidance on how to move a customer from one stage to another, or some guidance on the prerequisites for moving from one stage to another. Okay, I do not see any other questions here. So if there are no other questions, I will switch back to the support page here so you can get one last look at that. Pam, if you have any further questions or comments, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and give you guys back about 9 minutes of your day.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was going to add, Ernest, is if someone's not sure, if their org is good or suitable for Lightning, and they want some evaluation. I mean, I think we mentioned it, but that's certainly something we can do in support, and it's certainly something we could do in conjunction with Lens as well. So if you need some assistance or consulting advice on whether you're suited to move into Lightning yet, or kind of what our best practices is, we're definitely available to do that. And that's all.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. And to everybody, I definitely recommend you look at this. Salesforce Lightning Experience is the wave of the future, no pun intended, particularly for Salesforce. So the sooner you get started, the better. And of course, the sooner you get started, the sooner you take advantage of all of these new features and functionality that Salesforce is bringing out. So this is a really exciting time for Salesforce, I'm sure, and I know it's a very exciting time for Salesforce SIs like EnablePath. So absolutely reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or just need a little bit of help with Lightning. Thank you, everybody, and have a very happy holidays.